Okay, I think we can go ahead and get started. So thanks again for joining this session, which is all about the postgraduate programs offered by the Study of Religions Department at University College Cork. My name is Phil Neville, and I'm the EU Postgraduate Recruitment Officer for UCC's College of Arts, Celtic Studies and Social Sciences. And just a bit of housekeeping before we get started. This session will be recorded, and we'll share the recording with you after the session so that you can watch it back at your leisure, and so that other interested prospective applicants can also watch it back as well. Each of our presenters will take us through a different program offered, and they are Dr. James Cuff of the MA in Anthropology and Dr. Jenny Butler of the Higher Diploma in Study of Religions. There's also a Q&A box at the top of your screen rather, and we'll pick up any questions you add in there at the end of the session as well. So thanks for joining, and we'll go ahead and get started. And really, firstly, I did want to say a few words about University College Cork, because I know we've got people who signed up for this webinar that are from outside of Cork, outside of Europe as well, and you're all very welcome to the session. So the university was established and founded as Queen's College Cork in 1845 and is based 15 minutes walk from Cork city centre. And we're actually marking our 180th anniversary this year. So the campus is based on 42 acres of wooded ground, with different university buildings nearby on the central campus and within Cork City. And the image you can see on the right of your screen is our main quadrangle, and it's known as the Quad. And it's a tradition for students to get their photo taken on the Quad with their diploma when they finish their studies and are celebrating their graduation day. But it's also said to be bad luck to walk on the grass on the Quad before you finish your studies. So if you join us in September, just bear that in mind as well. I wouldn't want to risk it. And in terms of our student population, we're home to over 25,000 students, with almost 5,000 international students from over 100 countries. We're also a very green university, and last year we were awarded our 5th green flag in recognition of the university's ongoing sustainability and biodiversity efforts. And we're also named the 4th most sustainable university in 2024 by the UI Green Metric ranking, and that's something we're also very proud of. We also have over 50 clubs and 100 societies that our students can get involved in. So if there's an activity that's important to you, it's likely that you'll find that and be able to continue your interest in that here in UCC. And just on the right as well, you'll see a picture of George Boole, who was the first professor of mathematics at UCC and laid the foundation for the information age with his work on Boolean algebra. And similar to the, I suppose, superstition not to walk on the Quad before you finish your studies, and it's also supposed to be good luck to rub George Boole's nose on on his bust outside the Central Library. So another thing to bear in mind if you're joining us in September. To give you an overview of the campus and what it looks like, this is just an aerial view of the campus with the central Quad we were looking at in the centre at number 6. And as you can see, there's a number of university buildings kind of dotted around that main central point. So there's the student centre, which is number 2. We've got the library as well, the student library at number 5, which is probably where you'll spend a lot of your time on campus, and different buildings throughout. The Glucksman Art Gallery is nearby on the central campus, and our sports complex is about 10 or 15 minutes away next to the river. Now, just to give you a sense as well of where we are, if you're not too familiar with Cork, we're the southernmost city in Ireland, and we have an international airport about 20 minutes away from the campus, so it's well connected. Coastal East and West Cork are on our doorstep, about an hour away by bus or car, and we're also about 3 hours by bus or car from Dublin, the capital city. And Cork is well connected if you want to explore other cities in Ireland, or indeed if you want to go further afield during your studies to visit the UK or mainland Europe as well. So like I said, the international airport is only about 20 minutes away from the campus. So after that very brief introduction to UCC, I will hand over now to Dr. James Cuff, who is the program co-director for the MA in Anthropology. Thanks very much, James, for talking us through the program today.
That's great. Thank you, Philip, and welcome to everybody listening now or later. So yes, as Philip said, I'm co-director with Dr. Lydia Guzzi of the MA Anthropology program at UCC. Philip was just mentioning travel opportunities from Cork, and I'll discuss that as well. We have some great travel opportunities in this program. But first, just to mention the program requirements, we would require second-class honours and proficiency in English. And you can look on the Anthropology program website on UCC just to see how that might translate into your own country or university's scoring system or which kind of English language test you might like to see. And if we can go to the next slide, please, Philip. So here you'll see a selection of the modules. So we have 3 core modules. The first, Anthropology Paradigms and Theories, introduces students to advanced theory at postgraduate level. Now, we do welcome students in who don't necessarily have a background in anthropology. So if you've studied politics or general arts BA programs, you're very, very welcome to apply. And that theoretical module will get everybody up to the same level as a master's student in anthropology. And then in the second semester, we start with ethnography, practice, and writing. Now, this is a practice-based, research-led ethnographic module where we cover methodologies, ethics, and ask students to complete 2 mini fieldworks, which are preparation for them going on fieldwork in the third semester, which is the main component for any good MA anthropology program. And then there's also rereading the anthropological classics. And this moves beyond the old white male canon that you can see in many other programs. So we try to bring in post-colonial thinkers and thinkers from outside North America and Europe as part of a new contemporary anthropological tradition. And then students can choose electives from the range you see there. We have particular strength in semiotics and ethnomusicology, but also technology, study of religion, feminism. So there's a wide array of modules there to choose from. And the next slide, please, Philip. So then the real exciting module for all students is when they get to carry out their own independent fieldwork over the summer months. So they can spend up to 3 months in the field conducting empirical research in Ireland or abroad. And in the past, we've had students travel internationally, including places like Peru, China, Cambodia, Romania, Colombia. And, you know, traveling, especially these days with inflation and so on, is expensive. So a unique aspect of our program is that we offer students up to €1,000 in the form of a stipend to cover expenses, whether it's travel, accommodation, or even materials as well, where needed. So it's a very exciting component of the MA program. And the next slide, please, Philip. So we have, you know, we take in around 10 to 12 students every year, and the core teaching staff number around 8. So there's a good ratio of staff to student ratio, but we also ensure that students engage with other students, postgraduate students from other universities, and get an experience of faculty from other universities. So we have 2 spring schools. This is one, Atlantic Anthropological Workshop, which is happening in 2 weeks actually. So we're up the walls at the minute preparing for that. And it is a cross-border transatlantic workshop, research-led teaching from absolutely excellent anthropological researchers. And we also bring in folklorists, theologians to speak at it. It includes 2 bus tours, one cultural, one archaeological, and also musical salons to keep the ethnomusicologists engaged. It's a wonderful 2.5-day weekend on the west of Ireland and a beautiful surrounding. And so it's happening in 2 weeks. I fully recommend checking the website to see the kind of schedule and the kind of speakers that we're able to get in for that. And it shows part of the vibrant community in anthropology we have in UCC. And the next slide, please. And here is our second spring school, which is held in Italy and run by Dr. Tatsuma Padoan. And this is a longer one, 5 days of workshops, and includes 2 days of traveling to see the sites and learn more about the cultural aspects of the region. And there's more information there as well on our home website online. And the next website, please, Philip. So then we have a number of research centres and labs. The teaching team are quite successful at bringing in external funding, and this is represented in the research laboratories that we have at UCC, not just in the MA Anthropology, but across the board. The first one here is a Marginalised and Endangered Worldview Centre, called MUSC for short, and run by Lydia Guzzi and Dr. James Capello. And this centre was established in order to provide focus and a lens to garner information and understanding alternative worldviews, which are increasingly at risk as the world becomes globalised, homogenised, and so on. So this is a very, very important aspect to anthropological research in general. And the next one, please, Philip. And we also have the Sensa Lab, run by Tatsuma. And here, this is a joint centre with the Film and Media Studies Department. And in fact, our students this year made their own mini documentaries, and Pierce might be able to say something about that later. I think, Pierce, you were involved in making one of those. So again, a wonderful opportunity for students, not just for the theoretical advancement for practical application during the program to put these skills into practice. And another slide, please. And this is my own research lab, the Cyber Social Research Lab, which I set up on foot of an IRC Laureate Award a couple of years ago. And here we're interested in the social entanglements of new technologies, the kind of impact that new technologies bring to the world. And again, at the moment, we see the rise of generative AI, and it's going to have incredible ramifications for social change going forward. So that's the kind of thing that we studied there, with a view as well to a holistic and sustainable view for the future. And the next one, please. So, and then last but not least, the HDip Research Lab, History Declassified, run by Tatiana Wawrzymenko. And here, this is a similar thing. I mean, it's a theme that you'll see across different anthropological subdisciplines, but ensuring that we can excavate and protect cultural knowledge, whether it's marginalized or whether it's in the archives, from people who've been oppressed in the past. So this is the kind of work that Tatiana carries out here with us. And the next slide, please, Philip. So just in terms of outcomes, because if you're going to go and do any program, it's important to see what you might do afterwards. We have had excellent success with our students in the past, with many going on to fully salaried scholarships in top institutions worldwide. So you'll see a few examples of where our students have gone in the past, including Melbourne, Trinity College in Dublin, University of Cologne, and of course some will decide they've had such a great time at UCC to stay with us, and we welcome that, of course, as well. An important note about the program, and any MA program for that matter, it's really important for what the students bring into it. I mean, in our program, we offer the opportunity for students to develop their own areas of expertise. It's under guidance, of course, but it's very important that students come in and leave with developing an expertise, not just in a subject area, but also a geographic area, which the fieldwork provides for. And putting that energy and effort into it really brings rewards, and the teaching team are there to help every step of the way. And we have seen past graduates get employed by the United Nations in academic publishing, local community initiatives, local governance bodies, and of course many students stay in academia to carry out research on wider, larger projects such as those represented in the research centres. And of course, some will go to industry in the form of consultancy or doing research in the private sector, such as Dell, Amazon, Intel, companies like this. So students leave with practical training that they gain in the course, practical training in research methodologies, research ethics, with a theoretical grounding, get to apply those skills during the programme, and of course, as I mentioned, have academic expertise in a geographic area and in a subject area. Thank you, Philip. I think that covers some of the basics, and I'll be happy to take any questions on it afterwards.
Thanks very much, James. Really appreciate you talking us through the MA in Anthropology. And yes, we'll circle back to any questions as well at the end. So I'll hand over now to Dr. Jenny Butler to talk us through the Higher Diploma in Study of Religions here at UCC. Thanks very much, Jenny.
So the next slide. So the Higher Diploma is a programme across different arts subjects. So in Study of Religions, it's an intensive kind of immersion course in Study of Religions, the subject. So it's level 8 NFQ, or National Framework of Qualifications, that we have in Ireland, and that matches to other universities in Europe. So just to tell you a bit about the Study of Religions department in general. So we have staff that work on very different religious traditions and geographical contexts, and also different approaches, some of which are anthropological, others are discourse analysis, text-based, looking at gender, ethnicity, many different approaches. So it's a multidisciplinary department, and this is also the case for the HDip programme. So we look at our BA program is called Religions and Global Diversity, and this is what HDip's students select from. They select from BA modules. So we look at religions in their cultural context. So we are looking very broadly at, historical influences, as I said, gender, ethnicity, class, all of these things come into what we call lived religion. So students learn about a range of religious traditions and also about those different methodological approaches and theoretical frameworks. So the next slide. So it's a unique course because it's research-led or research-informed teaching, and there's that quite broad variety of things that students can select from based on our research, each of us as staff. So we have specialists in the study of specific religious traditions, as I mentioned, so including Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, Christianity, new religious movements, Western esotericism, or the study of occult, secret knowledge, and so on, folk religion, and popular religious traditions, East Asian religions. And it's just for people who may not know, there is a difference between what we call the non-confessional study of religions, or the academic cross-cultural study of religions, that examination, in cultural context, and that's different from theology as an endeavor. So we're not looking from within the religious traditions. We're critically analyzing these traditions. So the next slide. So those, just to mention the staff, myself, there's Dr. Amanullah Dasandi, who's the head of department, who specializes on Islam and also gender, toxic masculinity in Islam, is a specific focus. Dr. Lydia Guzzi, who you've heard about a little bit previously, who specializes on Hinduism, on indigenous religions. And Dr. James Capello, who specialises on Christianity and also material religion, and Dr. Tatsuma Paduan, who you've heard mentioned in relation to the MA Anthropology, as well as James, who works on specialises on pilgrimage and religion, Japanese religion, among other things. So I'm the coordinator of the HDip, and so who is the HDip for? Who takes this course? The next slide, Philip. So it's intended for people who already have a primary degree of 3 or 4 years, whatever people have done their primary degree in. So not for students who've already studied religions to degree level. People usually come in from a background of the social sciences or arts and humanities, but also people from the so-called hard sciences, or, you could do a primary degree in mathematics, for example, and maybe you want to go into teaching, which I'll talk about a little bit in a moment, and you might want to teach maths and religions in a school. So the higher diploma in religions is a conversion program. So it's that intensive kind of look at the subject, and so it's kind of a purpose-built program for that purpose, for people who want a faster specialization in religions. And the next slide. So it's a 1-year course, full-time, where students do 60 credits, or it's available 2 years. Over 2 years part-time, where students do the 30 credits each year. And in study of religions, our 2nd and 3rd year students are together in our BA courses, and that allows us to run more courses because our modules alternate year on year. So each academic year there's a different range of courses on offer. and from this BA program, Religions and Global Diversity. So students make a selection based on what is available for the particular academic year. And the next slide. So the modules offered, these are all of the modules that are running at the moment, just to give you a sense of those different kind of subject areas and geographical focus and cultural focus. So religious and philosophical traditions of Korea, one God, Judaism, Christianity and Islam, which focuses on the Abrahamic religions. There's Islam, historical and contemporary perspectives. There's a module on Buddhism in practice. Then a module on Christianities in a global age, religions of East Asia, authority and community in contemporary Christianities. So the study of religion and identities is also a big focus. Indigenous religions, Hinduism and Indian religions, contemporary religions in Ireland, which gives an overview of the Irish context, Western esotericism and new religious movements, and contemporary Islam, exploration in film, media and music. Many of our staff would also be researching in the area of either news media or areas of popular culture and religion and those intersections. So material religion is another module, folk religion in a global age, ethnographies of pilgrimage, excuse me, semiotic and comparative perspectives. And there's a dissertation in the study of religions, which HDip students can select as an option. And that is where you do a project and you have a supervisor. So it's a guided research, and all of these modules would be, I think all except one are 10 credit modules. So the next slide. So as a HDip student, you can take in consultation with me as the coordinator, up to 10 credits of religion-related modules in other departments. So, for example, Asian studies, folklore, sociology, history, philosophy, classics. The classics department runs some modules, for example, on the Gospels and early Christianity, history of art. And you can also study a language such as Chinese, Japanese, or Korean as part of your HDip degree. So, then a lot of people who do the HDip, they're doing it because they want to be religious education or RE teachers, or for teaching in general. And while it's not a teacher training course, it's a subject specialization for teaching that is recognized by the Irish Teaching Council. But that's not the only reason people do the HDip. We have had other people who, for the purposes of their job or, for them to have a grounding in the study of religions and religious and cultural understanding, it's a good course to do. And also people who do it out of interest in the study area. So just to tell you very briefly about the registration with the Teaching Council. So for applicants who are taking the higher diploma with a view to Teaching Council subject registration, the higher diploma is recognised by the Teaching Council. So what you would do is look at for teachers who want to, they check the subject curricula requirements for teaching in school, and you liaise with the Teaching Council about that. So in general, if you wish to qualify with religion as a teaching subject, you are advised to refer to the school curriculum and match the modules that you do in the HDip to that. So there's the Christianity modules and the contemporary religions in Ireland module and the Islam and one God modules are particularly relevant for that purpose. So students wishing to satisfy the Teaching Council requirements they take the 60 credits plus there's a 5-credit module in the Department of Education in UCC. So that is on the teaching of religious education or pedagogy. And so it would be the 60 and then the 5 credits of that. So when just to explain a little bit further about the structure of it, when students take when they're doing their BA, they do 60 credits per year of sometimes different subjects depending on what year they're in. Different subjects, either joint honours degree or single honours. And so the higher diploma gives an opportunity to do those 60 credits subject specialisation in one year. So the next slide. In terms of like the career or general life skills, which you no matter what subject you teach, or no matter what subject you study in university, you develop some kinds of skills, like presentation skills or interpersonal skills, things like that, and time management. But in studying religions in cultural context, you learn a lot of very useful information about how to understand people, and what we call religious literacy. So like a sensitivity or a deeper understanding of the world around us, and things like religious festivals or particular observances, and how to be more understanding and sensitive to those things. So that's why I have things here like people who work in human resources or that kind of area. But it's very broad, for what religious literacy is useful for. Anything we can think of, really, because we no matter what job we're in, we likely have to deal with people. So as societies worldwide become increasingly closely interlinked whilst remaining culturally diverse, understanding people's very different religious beliefs, or atheism, or it's also understanding things like freedom from religion, and not imposing religion on people. So those things like understanding beliefs and practices become essential for teachers, public sector workers, professionals in NGOs, the media, like journalism or reporting, those kinds of things, or anything to do with news media and social media as well, business, healthcare, and so on. So this HDip course provides particularly deep insights into different religions and cultures, and that helps you in any kind of employment involving people, as I mentioned. And then there are also further opportunities for study if people want to continue further with the study of religions. So we have an MPhil program. So that's a master's by research, and we also offer a PhD in the study of religions. So that's. I'm also happy to answer any questions, or give further information at the end.
Thanks very much, Jenny, for providing an overview of the higher diploma in study of religions, and great to hear, like you've outlined, the options for people if they're looking to teach religious education, and that there is that flexibility on the program as well for people to take additional credits outside of the core area as well when they're studying the higher diploma. So that brings us to the end of the presentation part of our session today, and I'm delighted that we're joined by one of our current students as well, by Pierce Ashley Woodall, who is a current student on the MA in Anthropology. So thanks very much for joining us today, Pierce, to share your experience of studying here at UCC. And I suppose maybe to get us started, you might tell us a little bit about yourself and why you decided to study this MA here at UCC.
So I do have a background in anthropology. I did my BA in it. I did my BA in art history and anthropology, and I loved it. I had a great time. And then last year I was up at Trinity and I got an MPhil in art history, and I decided I wanted to stay in school forever. So I started looking into, potentially getting back into anthropology, and I had a lot of options, and I considered very briefly like going back to the States, going back to my home university, but then I found the MA at UCC, and I was taking a look through it, and the thing that kind of jumped out to me was the field work. So obviously, Dr. Cuff talked a little bit about that, and I think whenever you're kind of sorting through all of your MA possibilities, there's usually like one or two things that really stand out for a program, and for me that's kind of what happened with the field work. And I really loved the idea of an opportunity to go somewhere to really immerse yourself, and that was going to be backed and supported by the university. So that kind of like that sense of support was really, really big. And now that I'm getting into the fieldwork, I'm very happy to be here doing it. It's very exciting.
Great, thanks, Pierce, for giving us that overview of your own experience. And could you tell us a bit more about what you enjoy most about studying at UCC? And I know James mentioned that you'd maybe worked on a documentary as well as part of your studies, so it'd be great to hear about that too.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit of a fraud. I had to drop out of that like last minute, but I did a lot of help with it. I know it's so sad, but I did get to do a lot of help with it in the kind of early phases, and more importantly, I got to watch my cohort kind of finish it, and that, without even being involved in it, was so amazing. Like to know that UCC was going to support something like that, which is a very, very creative avenue of conducting studies and stuff like that. And I found that that's probably been my favorite part so far. It wasn't just that, sense of lab, like, oh, that was a special project, and you're not allowed to be creative ever again. Not at all true. I've been given so many opportunities to do kind of like all sorts of crazy things with my assignments, fully backed by my professors. They're like, make sure you're still doing the assignment. I'm like, don't worry, it will get done. And so I love that kind of sense of freedom that the program has allowed me to explore, and being able to do that around around Cork, and here being so involved like with the city in general. So that's been really great.
Could I just add actually there as well? I don't want people to get the wrong impression of Pierce saying she had to drop out of the documentary, but there are genuinely so many different things the students can get involved with. It's wisdom and judgment on Pierce's side that you have to decide. You have to manage your time. It isn't possible to do absolutely everything. So it is very, very important students choose, okay, these are the parts I'm going to focus on, these parts I'm going to put by the side, but again, in order to develop that student's own particular interest and expertise in whatever it is they want to do.
Yeah, I had to drop out of the Dragon of Shandon because I didn't have the time, because I was too busy doing something else for another assignment that I, adopted of my own volition. So yeah, it was great. And the final products were fantastic. So
Great, thanks, Pierce. Yeah, we're getting the sense already that there is, a certain amount of creative and academic freedom as well that you've had on the program, which is great to hear. And could you maybe tell us a bit as well about how the program is supporting your own future goals and what you're hoping to do once you complete the MA?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as Dr. Cuff was saying, like we have a great kind of turnover rate, and that's not for lack of university support. I actually just had a meeting. Shout out to Dr. James Cuff for talking to me for 45 minutes, where I kind of was just like, I don't really know what to do, and he was like, don't panic, don't freak out. And so that kind of that support system has been super good, and that's like super base level. That's just like people that are willing to talk to you about your research interests. And then on top of that, we have the Atlantic Anthropological Workshop, which is a fantastic networking opportunity. We have a whole host of fantastic networking opportunities that is just a facet of being involved with such a fantastic program. And even whenever I've been like, hey, I want to do a crazy blend of what I'm learning in anthropology and what I have in my background with art history, they're like, that's great. let's look at the avenues through which you can do that. So it's been very, very much in that regard. And then also with that kind of creative academic freedom, I've been able to explore things that I'm already very interested in, and I'm already interested in furthering once I leave, which has been, very, very helpful for me. And it's kind of helped me solidify the zone and the sector that I want to be, most involved in. And simultaneously, even when I'm doing something that's maybe not as associated with that, just because I felt like doing it, I'm getting a lot of insight and a lot of understanding of how I want to specialize and how I want to explore any sorts of sectors that I go into.
Okay, thanks very much, Pierce. And I don't know, you mightn't have decided yet, but will you be undertaking some field work as well? Are you still kind of figuring that out at the moment?
Well, I'm in the second phase. If the first phase is proposing it, the second phase is filling out all the documents. And I will be doing my field work, and I'm looking to do my field work in Connemara with some Connemara ponies. Yeah. And people. There will be people there as well. It's not just horses.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, that's a stunning part of the world to go to as well. So amazing. Wishing you all the best with it.
Thanks
very much for sharing some of your experiences with us today. I think it's very helpful for prospective students who are watching live with us here or watching back to get a sense of the program. So thank you very much. And I suppose, look, that brings us maybe to the Q&A part of the program as well. I think we've had a couple of questions coming in. Just take a look at
Philip,
those.
I was putting it in the chat, but maybe I should say it as well in case the chat isn't available on the recording. So just for the English language requirements, there is a website available. If you go onto Anthropology at UCC, you can follow the link through under requirements, and there's a page that will highlight if you're from particular countries that require an English language test, and there's many, many different ways of getting that English language test done. So you can use Duolingo, the popular app, or the Cambridge certificates and so on. So it's best to go there and check rather than me specifying the exact levels, but that page has all the information and is country specific. And the other question we had, just, how many students we bring in. So we limit our intake, and usually it's 10 to 12 students per year. That might go up or down a small bit depending on part-time students, so it might inflate the numbers a little bit the following year if we're bringing in 12 and we have 2 or 3 part-time, but usually it's 10 to 12 students per year. So there were the two questions so far.
Very much, James. And what I can do as well is share the links to that and the English language requirement, as well as the academic qualification comparison site as well that UCC uses. So if you're applying from outside of Ireland, that'll give you an idea of the requirement for a degree in your home country before you apply. So you can be probably fairly confident in applying when you do.
So excuse me, there's a question
Jenny,
in the...
Yes, please do take that. I was just reading it there and trying to break it down as well.
So the question is about doing the HDip in religions, and so I had mentioned the PME, or maybe I didn't mention it, I had it on the slide, which is the Professional Masters in Education. So that's the actual teacher qualification that people do. So sometimes people do the HDip and they go on to do the PME if they're doing it for teaching purposes. So I'd mentioned that there are certain modules that are, they're to meet the Teaching Council requirements, and those because our modules alternate, it would depend on the particular year that the person who's asking. It would depend on the year that you would like to do the HDip, but usually it's one of either 2 Christianity modules. So there's Christianities in a Global Age, and there's Authority and Community in Contemporary Christianities, and there's usually at least one Islam module on. I mentioned that there's a I'm just looking at the names of the modules. So there is Islam, Historical and Contemporary Perspective. So it's usually either that is running, or there's the Islam looking at film and media and music in contemporary Islam. So there's also the module One God. So it's usually at least one of those would be running, and one Christianity one, and the contemporary religions in Ireland, if that's running, because that also covers topics to do with certain Christian traditions and rituals, like the Holy Communion for Catholic in Catholic schools and things like that. So it's a component of the modules that we teach. Whether or not someone is taking the module for the purposes of teaching, we have it built into the different modules. But as the coordinator of the HDip, I would help people with the form. The Teaching Council has a form which is literally it's tick box where you fill in the different modules you take and what they correspond to, with the list that the Teaching Council gives of categories and different areas, like different theoretical areas that are covered. So there's something in many other modules as well in study of religions. No matter what module you do, there'll be something that also corresponds to the Teaching Council requirements. And the second part of the question there was about the PhD in study of religions. So the question is how many years that would be. So the PhD, no matter what the subject, in arts, in the College of Arts, Celtic Studies and Social Sciences, you can register for a minimum of, I think it's 3 years for most PhDs. Most people do 4 years as their minimum registration. And then there's also part-time option, up to 6 years part-time. So, yeah, it would be usually 4 years for the PhD.
Great, thanks very much, Jenny, for picking up on those points as well. And maybe just on that question with PhD, if somebody was doing the higher diploma in religions, would they need to then go on and do a master's level program before they would be considered for the PhD, just to make sure they'd have their research skills as well?
Yes, so we offer an MRes in like a Master's by Research in Study of Religions. I didn't mention that one because it would be a similar kind of intensive course to the HDip, and it also involves a dissertation. So then there's the MPhil, which is a Master's by Research, where it's not a taught master's, so students would only do mandatory. All postgraduate students have to do some mandatory modules on skills training and things like that. But the MPhil is research based, so it doesn't involve taking classes, and people usually do some kind of fieldwork based project. It doesn't necessarily have to be field based, but that's been the trend. Yeah, so we at the moment have the MRes and the MPhil. In the future, there likely will be an MA, a taught MA program in Celtic religions, and we're developing that. So yeah, there are master's degree options if students wanted to continue with study of religions and then do a PhD.
And thanks very much, Jenny, for outlining the pathways there. Okay, just going to take another look at our Q&A in our chat. I think those are the only questions for now. Great, well, if there are the only questions for the moment, I think we can maybe leave the session there for now. So thanks very much, everybody, for joining us today. And thank you for watching back if you're seeing this a bit later. As I mentioned, I'll send out a follow-up in the next week or so to anyone who'd registered for the session with the recording. I'll also copy in our program directors who've been with us here today, so you have their contact details to hand if you need to follow up with them, and I'll include some links that will be helpful for your application as well. such as our UCC Apply application system and those qualification comparison in English language pages as well. Thanks very much, everyone, for joining us. Thanks again to our presenters for their time today, talking us through the programs, and to Pierce for sharing her experience so far of the MA in Anthropology. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you, Philip. Thank you all. Talk to you all soon.
Thanks all. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.